Thank you for tuning in to the second episode of Who Are Your Kinfolk, presented by SparkIT Inc. This series is a tribute to the legacies of the people of South Tifton, primarily encompassing unincorporated Unionville and Phillipsburg. One of SparkIT's newest projects is the Spark Interest in Tifton's Early Black Settlers project. We are excited about genealogy research and invite you to join us as we discover more about Tifton's finest. As we get to know our kinfolk and from whence they came, we look to them with pride. This is our blueprint and our legacy to keep going. In 1880, just 8 years after Henry Harding Tift left Albany to start a sawmill in then Berrien County, we find a great cloud of witnesses. These are the names of the 110 Black women, men, boys, and girls who lived in the village of Tifton. This episode will focus on the 10 Black citizens who were born in the 1840s. What we now know as Tifton was once part of Berrien County. It was not incorporated as a town until 1890, and in 1905 it became a county, Tift County. Tift County was formed from areas of Berrien, Irwin, and Worth counties. At the heart of Tifton, literally and figuratively, are Unionville and Phillipsburg areas, where many early Black settlers made their homes. In 1948, the Tift County Historical Society published the book entitled History of Tift County. Ida Bell Williams, an English educator and principal of Tifton High School in the 1940s, was its chief editor. The book was dedicated to Tifton's founder, Henry Harding Tift, and it chronicles Tifton's founding from the time when the Creek Indians were driven from the lands in the early 1800s through the first 4 decades of the 1900s. This book contains 28 chapters, and chapter 26 briefly mentions, in about 6 out of 500 pages, the contributions of a few of Tifton's early Black settlers. We submit to you that these Black citizens' contributions were not miscellaneous, as the chapter is entitled. Indeed, they were integral to Tifton's history. Chapter 26 begins with a very important statement. No history of Tift County would be adequate did it omit mention of those high-type Negroes whose faithful and efficient service and upright character made a large contribution to the building of Tifton. Well, yes, there are too many people to name, but as the author states, they helped build the town. The 1880 census is one of the primary sources we've used to explore the lives of Tifton's early Black settlers. The village of Tifton was one of the 13 districts in Berrien County. We focus on the 1880 census and not the 1870 census because Henry Tift did not migrate to the area until 1872. We've discovered that some of the early Black settlers already lived in the area, and others migrated there in search of better work opportunities. At the time of the 1880 census, the total population for the village of Tifton was 392. Of this nearly 400 people, 110, or 28%, were black men, women, boys, and girls. Black males outnumbered black females 57% to 43%. The average age of black citizens was about 23. The oldest black citizen was a 70-year-old woman born around 1810, and the youngest black citizen was a 3-month-old baby girl. Most men worked at the Tiff sawmill, and most women worked as housekeepers. The census also records that most of the black citizens were born in Georgia, and others were born in southern states. We also see that one of the early black settlers was born in Connecticut. The Berrien County tax digests used in our research thus far are from 1867, 1872 through 1877, which was useful in determining if men in the village of Tifton were already in Berrien County or if they migrated there around the time Henry Tiff purchased land in Berrien County. We used 1878 through 1882, 1883 through 1887, and we used the 1890 Property Tax Digest, which was useful in the absence of the 1890 U.S. Census that was destroyed by fire and flooding in Washington, D.C. Depending on our future research needs, we may dive deeper into additional years that are digitally available. In our last episode, we presented 9 early black settlers who were born between 1810 and 1838. In this episode, we will focus on those settlers who were born in the 1840s. We begin with a couple, Charles and Jane Lyons. Charles Lyons was born about 1840 in Tennessee. His parents were also born in Tennessee. Just as many men of that time, he worked at the sawmill. He was a teamster, or one who drove the trucks. Jane Lyons, his wife, was born about 1845 in Connecticut. As well as her parents, she, like many women, managed the affairs of their home. In the 1880 census, we find 2 boarders living in the home with Charles and Jane Lyons. We will also see that there was a transcription error in the archival record for Jane Lyons' birthplace. It was listed as Canada in the transcript, but we can see on the census that she and her parents were born in Connecticut. This information makes one wonder if Jane's family migrated to Georgia with the Tiffs, who originated from Connecticut. We would need to dig deeper to find out more about Jane Lyons' origins. In our quest to find out how Charles Lyons migrated to Tifton, we found a Charles Lyons in Lee County, Georgia, who took the voter oath in 1867, shortly after slavery ended. We also found a Charles Lyons in the 1870 census with a wife and 2 children. We would need to search further to confirm if this is the same Charles Lyons who migrated to Tifton. Our next early black settler in the village of Tifton is Betty Chatfield. Betty Chatfield was born about 1840 in Georgia. Her parents were also born in Georgia. Her occupation is listed as washes and irons, which is consistent with the laundress occupation of that time. Betty Chatfield's name appeared in our first episode in the household of Green and Sally Chatfield. It is hard to determine if she was Sally's sister, since Sally's parents were born in Virginia and Betty's parents were born in Georgia. Another theory might be that Betty could have been Green's brother's wife, since the census records that she is married. Next, we spotlight America Andrews. America Andrews was born in 1840 in Georgia. Her parents were born in Georgia too. She works as a seamstress, which differs from other Black women in this series. It is very interesting how America Andrews is recorded in the 1880 census. She is listed as a servant for a widowed white woman of Irish descent. This makes us wonder, how did she come to Tifton? Was she always a domestic servant for this woman? Curious to know her origins, we looked in the 1870 census. Could this be her in Lee County, listed as mulatto and married to Adam Andrews? Sarah Monaghan is our next settler. Born in 1844, Sarah Monaghan is a female in our research who raises more questions than answers. She and her parents are recorded as being born in Georgia. In the census, she is listed as mulatto and married. However, she lives in the Sinclair household and is described as a servant. Enumerators or recorders for every census were given instructions for recording housing units and residents and how to approach individuals and obtain information. They were also given specific instructions for recording a person's race. For instance, in 1880, they were instructed to be particularly careful in reporting the class mulatto. Essentially, these were all persons having any perceptible trace of African blood. In this census snapshot, we see that the enumerator recorded Sarah Monaghan as being mulatto and she's married. This leads us to wonder, to whom is she married and where is her family? Our search of her existence just 10 years earlier in 1870 turned up very little. In one of our resources, we even find that some researchers suggest that there is a transcription error and Sarah is actually white, and the spelling of her last name is Monerlin. These suggestions even challenge the notion of who were servants. Was Sarah a nanny for the children who happened to be white? The question of her race and her last name must remain unanswered without corroborating evidence at this time. Our next ancestor from the village of Tifton is John Strickland. John Strickland was born around 1845. He and his parents were recorded as being born in North Carolina. He was a turpentine worker and was married to Anna Strickland. In this 1880 census snapshot, we see that John and Anna Strickland have a boarder living with them who also works in the turpentining industry. The Strickland household is the last household enumerated in the unincorporated village of Tifton. The turpentining or naval stores industry was a major boost to the South Georgia economy in the 1880s. Many people working in the industry in North Carolina migrated to the pine forest in South Georgia. It is important to note that this industry heavily relied on the labor of African Americans who worked in the hot, dirty, and dangerous conditions of cutting pine trees to extract and process turpentine and rosin from the trees. John Smith is the next ancestor from the village of Tifton. John Smith was born around 1847 in Georgia. His parents, however, were born in South Carolina. He is listed as being married and working at the sawmill. John Smith lived in the household with another sawmill worker who was also married. Their living arrangements makes us wonder if it was common for many men to work in a town and go home to another town to see their families. It has been difficult to find information regarding John Smith's origins since the name is such a common one. Beyond the 1880 census, we were able to find a John Smith employed by H. Tift from 1881 through 1886. Squire Taylor is the next early black settler in the village of Tifton. Squire Taylor was born around 1847 in North Carolina. His parents were also born in North Carolina. In the 1880 census, he, his wife Anna, and child Francis are listed as mulatto. He worked as a cook. In the 1877 Property Tax Digest for Berrien County, Squire Taylor lives in the Lower Ninth District near Adel. No employer is listed. We know that by 1880, Squire and his family are living in the village of Tifton and that he is a cook. Two boarders who worked for the railroad lived with him and his family. In this census record, we also see that he lives next door to the railroad section master, William D. Matthews, who is white. The Matthews household includes their family, along with several boarders who work for the railroad. With further research in the 1880 Property Tax Digest, we were able to find that Squire Taylor is employed by William D. Matthews. This leads us to believe that Squire Taylor may have been the cook for the Matthews household. Since we found more nuggets about Squire Taylor, we searched further to see if he and his family remained in Tifton. We found that by 1910, Squire and Annie Taylor were living with their son-in-law Benjamin Kennedy and their grandchildren in Leon County, Florida. We would need to dig deeper to find out what happened to Frances, their daughter, who we believe may have died between 1900 and 1910, since she and her husband Benjamin were living in Midland, Alabama, a railroad town, in 1900. One might ask, how did Frances get connected with someone from Alabama? One logical guess would be the railroad. Remember, her father Squire worked for a man in the railroad business. Also, this 1910 census shows that 3 of Squire and Annie's 5 children were living. In this episode, we have featured 2 men named John, and now we will spotlight 2 men named Robert. Robert S. Middleton is the first Robert we will introduce. Different from most of the ancestors spotlighted thus far, Robert S. Middleton was born about 1849 in New Jersey. His parents were born in the northeast part of the United States. His father was born in New Jersey, and his mother was born in Maryland. Interestingly, he too is listed as mulatto. This makes us wonder, how did he get to South Georgia from New Jersey? He worked as a lumber inspector, was single at the time, and lived in the household with two other black sawmill workers. As we delved into Robert Middleton's life before and after 1880, we found some very puzzling information regarding his race, which makes us wonder if he chose to identify as white or if race was listed incorrectly in the 1880 census by the enumerator. Early records in 1870 show him in New Jersey as a lumberyard salesman in the household with his sister Harriet, who runs a dry goods store. Their race is listed as white. In reviewing other records for his family, we found that his father was once listed as having been born in Bermuda. Bermuda, a British territory located off the coast of the United States, has both white and black inhabitants. As we've stated, Robert Middleton lives in the village of Tifton and is listed as mulatto. Oh, to have been a fly on the wall when the enumerator collected information on that household. Why did the enumerator list him as mulatto? Was there a perceptible trace of African blood? Looking at his sister's death certificate shows their father was born in Bermuda. Other documents show his father may have been a physician. By 1890, in Vienna, Dooley County, Georgia, Robert Middleton is appointed postmaster. Property tax records around that time also list him as white. It may be safe to say that Robert Middleton identified as white since he is listed in the 1900 census as white along with his wife of 15 years, Mary Lou. Subsequent records also list him as white. Therefore, we are left in a dilemma in our research. Should we continue to include Robert Middleton as an early black settler in Tifton? We now turn our attention to the second Robert in this episode, Robert Bob Thomas. He is our final early black settler born in the 1840s. Robert Bob Thomas was born about 1849 in Georgia. His parents were also born in Georgia. Based on the 1880 census, he worked with railroad tanks, an occupation known for long hours and dangerous conditions. Only he and his wife Virginia are living in this household. In our quest to find more about Robert Thomas's origins, the 1870 Property Tax Digest for Berrien County showed him living there. No employer is listed. The 1880 census shows him living and working in Tifton, but he is employed in the turpentine industry. Thank you for watching this episode of Who Are Your Kinfolk? Could one of the people featured in this episode be your ancestor? Or do you recognize any of the people or surnames featured in this episode? There is an African proverb that says, when an old man dies, a library burns to the ground. We must continue to share our stories, orally and in written format, so that our family histories and our contributions are not lost. Please consider joining us in this project, or if you're interested in attending our upcoming genealogy workshops, you can reach us by email at sparkitcc@gmail.com. We are on YouTube at We Spark It, or you can reach us on Facebook at SparkIT Inc.